Good evening. My name is Annette, and we are live here at Word on the Curb. Word on the Curb podcast is a podcast that talks about people, places, and things and what's going on in our communities and in our lives. The real deal, what's actually happening from politics to social services to love to romance to baby carriages. We're talking about it. Tonight, our men are going to be sharing what's on their mind, what they're thinking about, and what they're talking about. But before we do that, I'd like to thank my sponsor, the Ingram Kingdom Mobile Kitchen and Sister Seafood, Amaris, Jasna, Don, and Derek. I'd like to thank you for your sponsorship. I appreciate it. I want to shout out every small business owner who is out here doing their thing. I want to shout out and offer my condolences to any family or parent who's lost a child due to the violence in the city. I want you to know that we care, we're there, we're from the neighborhoods, and we understand. And tonight I have some very special people with me, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, beginning with our commissioner.
Good evening, Sister Annette. This is Commissioner Sam Frisby from the city of Trenton. I've been elected commissioner for the last 12 years, but more than that, I'm a father, I'm a community member, and I'm the husband of Council President Teska Frisby. And so,
Yay.
I'm a son. And so I shout out my mother, Janine Frisby LaRue, but just a brother who's just trying to make things happen in our community.
And Janine has a wonderful podcast, LaRue's Cafe. And I
LaRue
want you
Cafe,
guys
that's
to
correct.
look it up when you get a chance and give her a shout out and listen to her. We're out here talking about some phenomenal things, and those things include you. So remember LaRue's Cafe. And next we have Winston
Winston
Dramatic Mills.
Dramatic Mills from the Winston Dramatic Show podcast out of Trenton, New Jersey. Small business owner, entrepreneur out of Trenton, New Jersey. Love the city of Trenton. I'm here for not all black men, and togetherness and to open doors to create new things as much as I can. And I'd like to thank Annette Lartigue for putting me on the show. You know what I mean? Me and her go back a nice distance and we conversate well. And
Yes.
she put certain things in perspective. And I appreciate it so much. And thanks for inviting me.
And I'd like you guys to also look up Winston Dramatic Mills podcast. He
Absolutely.
hosts the podcast and co-hosts with his brother Paul from time to
Absolutely.
time. And I want you to check them out because they have some exciting things on the way. I'm not going to spill the beans, but they've got
Yeah.
some great things in the making. And I'm looking forward to, seeing that. And next we have Mr. Paul Mills.
All right, first of all, good evening, Annette. My name is Paul Mills, husband to Rajanta Hodges Mills, brother to Winston Dramatic Mills. I'm the behind the scenes producer of the WDS show, along with being a professional life coach, along with my wife. She's a mental health therapist, and we formulated a website, Diesel Therapeutics. You'll find us at www.dieseltherapeutics.com, where we offer mental health evaluations. We offer help. We're here to help. And all the basic mental health necessities needed to move us further. Now, as a life coach, I'm more grassroots. So, I like to deal with people hands-on. But we'll get more into that at a later time. But once again, Ms. Annette, I'd like to thank you for having me and my brother on Word on the Curb podcast. We're going to turn it up tonight.
We're going to turn it up. And I want to tell you that these three men, I can vouch for the integrity and the character. Reputation is what other people think, but what these men actually do make the difference. And that's why they're here tonight. And tonight, our topic is simple. What are men talking about? What are they thinking about? Come on, Paul, bring it in. What are they thinking about out there?
Well, on a day-to-day basis, we think about a lot of things, but just to start it off, like we may think about sports, our favorite teams, especially when football
Wait a minute,
season
you're
is
getting ready to
around.
start some trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how deep this is going to go, but I'm a Cowboys fan.
So am
What
I.
Oh,
So am
Cowboys
I.
fan.
So am I.
You Cowboys fans on.
My
There
little
it
brother
is.
Sam, he's got some things going on, but we're gonna
What's
work
up, Sam? What's up, Sam?
I got love for y'all, man. I just can't rock with the Cowboys. I've never been able to rock with them. When you get put up on a pedestal and people call you America's team, man, I'm part of America, but you ain't my team.
The America's team. Who else is? Who else is?
Look, for me, almost anybody could be, but
just not the
rock.
Cowboys.
Went there.
Anybody but Dallas. That's where I rock.
No, don't treat us.
All right, Sam. Here you go. This is why we're America's team, Sam. Right?
Talk to him.
In America, it's all about turning something into something bigger from nothing, right?
That's right.
Now, Jerry Jones bought this team for pennies on a dollar.
Talk to him, Pete.
And made it the most wealthiest team, not only in the country, but in the world. If that's not the epitome of the American dream, labeling us the America's team, then I don't know what else is, brother.
Talk to him.
But here it is, bro. I could rock with you if that's when it started. But it started before Jerry Jones bought the team. So look, that was a wonderful soliloquy that you just put together, and you rocked that thing and backed it up real nice in a bow. That was called America's team when I was in elementary school.
That's right. They was on their way. They were on their way to be
I'm not necessarily a fan of Jerry Jones, but I'm a fan of the Dallas Cowboys.
Look, I rock with my man Jalen Hurts. Because when you talk about somebody who's a comeback story, what that brother did in college when he couldn't win championship and then decided he was going to switch, go to a different college, rocked it out there, came to the NFL. Philly didn't even want him when they got him, right? They didn't want that young boy when they got him, but now they know they got something special. He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, and I tell you what I love about that brother. The fact that his agent is a sister, and his agent, she got him paid. She got paid in the process. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
That is dope.
That's right.
That is dope.
So for me, I rock with players. I don't so much as rock with teams. I do rock with players. Look, I'm gonna tell it to you like this, Paul. It's so funny. You go in the basketball world. My nephews, who I helped raise. Both of my nephews, when they were coming up, we used to watch the Lakers. Mm-hmm. But I only watched the Lakers because I was a Kobe fan, not a Lakers fan.
Right.
As soon as Kobe retired, my nephew said, "Uncle Sam, you hit me with the fake thing." He said, "I thought we were Lakers fans." I said, "No, you were a Lakers fan. I was a Kobe fan." You know what I'm saying?
I can respect that because there are some Eagle players like hers that I really like.
Right. We respect.
So I can respect that. Well, go ahead, Paul. What's up out here?
Well, I'm just to piggyback off of that. I like Jalen Hurts. You know why? Because he's reminded me of Dak Prescott. They both had similar stories.
Oh Lord, you see how he wrapped it back around the Dallas?
No. Honestly,
you gotta come back.
Both young African American quarterbacks. No question. Both had a lot of losses in their life. Both rebounded. And they're still striving to be the top. Only thing that's different is that Jalen got a chance to go experience the Super Bowl. Other than that, they're similar. Run first quarterbacks. They're both black quarterbacks. They're both helming a team of prestige. They lead with their prestige. If you notice that, they don't lead with all the talk, all the negative naysay stuff. They lead with prestige. So I got respect for him, man. But some of the other people like Shady McCoy, I can't stand. Shady.
Yeah. He's just not. We don't like the Eagles, man.
I can't stand Shady.
We don't want the
Shady was giving people business. He was giving.
He was.
What else are we talking about?
Shady McCoy. Yeah, Shady McCoy is a true Eagle.
Yeah, he's a true Eagle.
You know what? You know who I loved, who was an Eagle, and back in the day I was watching him heavy. Randall Cunningham.
Yeah,
Randall Cunningham laid the foundation for a lot of these young brothers. And here's what's funny. When you go back through Randall's history, most people think that Randall was a running quarterback. If you follow him from
Right.
high school through college,
Right.
he was actually a pocket quarterback,
Yeah,
but
he's actually
with great,
and they changed
great
him.
athleticism. But
Yeah,
the
they
Eagles had
changed
such a horrible line, he
Yeah.
was
Yes,
running
he
for
had
his
to
life all
run.
the time.
Yeah, yep. He had to
Randall
run.
had a cannon.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
I
Yes.
still remember the play against the Giants when he was in his own end zone. He ducked under a defender and threw a 95-yard bomb to his receiver for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
Yes, sir.
He has a
Yeah.
cannon. He
Running,
has a
throw it 65 yards, going the
Yeah.
opposite way of his arm,
Yep.
going back across the
Yeah,
field.
that's
That man was a
crossbody.
beast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. With accuracy.
Yes.
Yep. And
Yeah.
Mahomes,
All right.
Mahomes reminds me
Gentlemen.
a lot of him.
Absolutely.
She trying to come
Absolutely.
in. Look.
All right. Come on. What else we talking about out here?
Okay.
Well, they talking about whether or not LeBron gonna get this fifth ring.
This is
That's
man.
That's what
Yeah,
they
well,
talking about.
If he go to Orlando with his son, he might get it in Orlando.
Yeah, he trying to bring his son with him. He trying to bring his son. He trying to wait for his son to enter the league, and then he's coming in. What you think? What you guys think on that? Is that a good idea, or it's time for him to go? Because I think
No, he gonna stay.
No, LeBron.
He gonna
He
stay,
gonna
right?
stay. And I'm
don't think
not a LeBron fan. I'm a Steph Curry fan. But
Yeah.
but
LeBron
Right.
LeBron
should
he gonna come back. He
Now
coming back.
let me ask y'all this, right?
You think he's gonna come back in Orlando, or he's gonna
No,
come back?
he's gonna stay
going to
where he
LA.
is with the Lakers.
Stand right where he
Okay.
And
at.
he's gonna stay there. He's gonna push that record out a whole lot further because ain't nobody gonna catch him for the next 30 years in terms of points scored, right? And then he's gonna figure out wherever his son's going because he's only gonna sign a small deal, and he's gonna go wherever his son goes because he's always said he want to play with his son. That's what he's gonna do.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask one quick question about this LeBron thing. Say his son get into the league, he joins him and helps him win a championship.
Right.
Where do we put him at?
That's the ultimate.
That's
Where do you put him at?
Where do we put him at?
Well, see, you don't want to talk to a Kobe fan about that.
Over Jordan, over Kobe with that move right there.
Here's my issue with LeBron, and my sister is the biggest LeBron fan you ever want to meet. She just took a picture with LeBron's mom because she bought season tickets. She's down in Atlanta. She bought season Hawks tickets to sit behind the opposing bench just for the 2 times a year when LeBron comes.
Wow.
That's the only reason that she bought season tickets down there in Atlanta. So she's a huge LeBron fan, and she and I have this debate all the time. My biggest issue with the way that LeBron did it, right? And people they got love for it. I just don't. When he decided he was going to roll down to Miami to win that first championship, if he had just gone down there with Dwayne, I might have been okay. But then they had to bring Bosh. You had 3 of the top 10 NBA players in the league at the time on the same team. Right. And so when you start talking about winning championships, you look at what Kobe did, and look, I'm a huge fan, so I put that on blast, right? But if you look at the top 75 NBA players, who else besides Shaq that Kobe played with is in the top 75?
Come on.
Nobody. And so when you look at the people that LeBron played with in order to get his rings, shoot, you got Ray Allen, you got Chris Bosh, you got Dwayne Wade, you got all these people that he done won rings with that are in the top 75.
But didn't Boston have that top 3 first?
Yeah. They did.
Yeah.
So Boston he had to go there to disassemble them. They was dominating the East with their big 3.
Yeah.
Right.
They were Paul, but think about it this way though. Those cats were at the end of their prime, and at that point in time, none of them were in the top 10 of the NBA.
They were all 3. Paul Pierce was a top 10 scorer.
But he wasn't top 10 in the NBA. If you had said, every year the ESPN puts out the top 100, and they rank them. He was not in the top 10 those years when
it don't matter.
He was in the top 10, but he got his way into the top 10 after they started winning their games, their championships.
Oh no, he was in the top 10 before. All those cats were in the top 10 when they were at the top of their game, but then they got older and they decided we're gonna join together.
But LeBron was going up against them. LeBron was going to the finals against them in Cleveland by himself. So what else is he going to do? If you're going against an army, you got to go get your army and kill that army. Then you can go about your business.
When Kobe won that ring in 2010, who did he play?
He played all. He did do it.
He
Yeah,
played. He played them.
He did too.
He played them,
He did it.
right? But he played them, and none of those other players that was on his team are in the top 75 NBA players.
Right.
When they won in 2010, and they beat that squad, they beat that Celtics squad.
But you talking about
Paul Gasol, wasn't it? Wasn't Paul Gasol there?
Paul Gasol's not in the he's not top 75. I don't think he won. He was in the top 75. I'll go back and check, but I don't think he was. He might have been, but I don't think he was.
I mean, he was real good. He was real good those years, though.
He was strong them years.
Yeah. Kobe
was strong them years.
Kobe was real good. Kobe was real good.
Okay, gentlemen.
So we can holler about that, but we ain't gonna stay there all day.
We ain't gonna stay there all day. We just touching. We just touching on the facts.
LeBron is a bad man. I will give him that. I just don't think that he needs. I look at his championship the same way that people looked at Kevin Durant. Yeah. Right? He went with Golden State.
No.
He went with Golden State.
Durant went with a machine already, though. He can't do that. Yeah, they was already a machine.
I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you the same way I just gave it to you. How many of them cats was in the top 10 other than Steph? They weren't all top 10.
None of them. But they could.
Steph was the only one.
It don't matter, but they was high ranking, man. Like, at their time, they was peaking.
Yeah,
they was what, 2-time champs already?
Once.
One time.
They won once and then lost to LeBron once.
Yeah. When Kyrie came back,
they around that championship. So LeBron went. He only left one time, and then he came back to win in Cleveland. He came back. He
brought it back home.
That championship in Cleveland, that was real.
It was, wasn't it?
Okay.
Now, I believe they get 2 if Kyrie wasn't hurt the first one.
Yeah, right.
They might have.
Yep. So let's move on to another topic because sports is one of my favorite. I'm a football and a basketball fan. 76ers is my team.
Yes, 76ers is my team too.
Okay, respect.
Look, y'all need to get rid of Harden if y'all can.
Nah, he might not be going nowhere. He might not be leaving.
Look, I'd be praying that he was leaving if I was young.
And guess who want to come back?
Who's that?
Ben Simmons want to come back.
Oh, Lord.
He want to come back home.
Ben Simmons is the key.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is the
key to a title.
If he got a halfway decent jump shot, then he might.
He don't need it. He don't need it.
He can play down low. He
never needed the jump shot.
6'10", 6'11", down low.
I didn't mean to start that fight. We're gonna move along.
All right.
Winston, what's the next thing out there on the curb? What are we talking about?
Okay, we're gonna talk about well, as the days progressed, through the years progressed, how men are still getting slighted, but we get a little bit more respect, right? We get a little bit more respect, but we getting slighted, especially black men, man. We get slighted by the women these days, like, but we're getting a little more in some spaces. We get more respect than I've seen it in the past. And I'm not talking about the 80s or the 70s. Though that's a whole different woman. The 90s girl is a whole different woman than the 2000 woman and the 2010 and up. It's a whole different woman. It's a whole different lady. So for you to ask certain things from that lady is almost impossible for certain years. You know what I mean? If she's from a certain time.
When you say she's different, what do you mean?
When I say different, all right. I know some women who will be, who will listen to their man or their husband. Like I know women. Some women are just rebellious for no reason. I see it. I speak to women. I know some women, that younger women, that also from the gate they'll come. You'll leave them for a day or two, and they'll come back to the argument, almost aggression like a man. Like I'm like, yo, your aggression. Their aggression is like a guy. It's like a man. So
like you forgotten about the argument, and she comes back.
She the one who enforces the argument. I'm like, yo, I know women are feisty and they have an edge. Like they real.
Not all women.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put everybody in the same boat, but the time is just different, and you just see so much of a difference where it's like a not caring attitude. I don't listen to nobody. I don't do that. You know what I mean? Then you have some that are right and be like, yo, listen Listen to your guy. Listen to your guy. You know, they'll beat it to their friends. They'll beat it into them like that. So the time is so different. And maybe it been like this before. I'm not sure. But I see on some points that men get treated well. Like, you know what I mean? I see some men get treated well. It's a little different though. The times are just crazy different. And I don't know how to fix it, because I'm trying to see what it is first, because you learn from the mistake, and then you can, when you go back, you can fix the mistake. But you have to have seen it before. You get what I'm saying? You have to see, like a baseball player when he's playing baseball, he's seen a lot of pitches, right? He's seen a lot of the batter, seen a lot of pitches, so he know, oh, okay, he's gonna, on this pitch, he's trying to strike me out, so he's gonna throw either a fastball over the plate or something to have me chasing so I could swing it. You get what I'm saying? So we seen that before. So in this same instance, where you have women, if you go on Instagram, you see all types of crazy women, like crazy styles, and it's like, yo, it got bigger and bigger through the time. So I don't know we don't know how to fix it. You know what I mean?
think that what I want to say to the women is, if you want to relate to your man, understand that sports is always
Yes.
an opportunity to engage and get in if you understand the game. And that's important because, as you can see, Winston referred to baseball, right?
Yes.
That's how the mind works. You got
That's
to
right.
respect and understand that.
That's right.
And
And
so
that's dope. That's dope for you to because you're a woman and you understand exactly what I'm saying. You understand the dynamics of what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? And that's beautiful. And we look for that. We look for things like that.
That wasn't always the case. I married a man.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
I married a man, Llewellyn
Right.
Wayne T, who understood the field.
Right.
And in understanding it as his woman and wife, he taught me.
Right.
And whenever, I'd rise up, he said, baby, listen, remember who's running the ball. I'm the quarterback.
Absolutely.
I'm taking this ball down the field.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, understand that. And we
right.
would communicate like that. And I have to say that in my heart and mind, I believe my man has to be the lead.
That's right.
He has to be able to tell me where we're going, how we're going to get there, what it takes to do it, and how we partner in it. That's the lead.
So I'm gonna jump in on this one, because I mean, this is one of the things that people are talking about in the streets, right? Because this generation really isn't into marriage, but they are into relationship. Mm-hmm. And given I've been married for 26 years, I get a lot of young folks that say, "Tell me how y'all did that," right? Mm-hmm. And so part of it is in our choice, right? Because sometimes we look for stuff that ain't good for us. That's men and women on both sides, right? We look for what looks good to us, but might not be good for us, right? We also don't understand.
Hold up there for a minute. Hold up there, Commissioner. Hmm? That's the biggest mistake men and women make. You're looking at the physical and you don't see the heart and the mind. So when you get in trouble, you're trying to figure out why the looks aren't carrying you through. They won't. Go ahead.
Yeah, when Tesca and I, before we got married, we read a book by P.B. Wilson called Knight in Shining Armor. And she's a Christian author. And one of the things that she talks about is working on you before you get into relationship. So before we decided, okay, we're going to get into a relationship, even prior to marriage, we said, okay, we got to fix our stuff. Because everybody brings stuff to a marriage, right? Or a relationship. Let's just talk relationship. Everybody brings stuff to a relationship. And until you work on your own stuff and know what your own triggers are, you bring in that, and what you're trying to do is intertwine it with somebody else who hasn't figured out their stuff. And so, my father and his wife, I call her my bonus mom, they were marriage counselors, Christian marriage counselors. Okay. And one of the things that they said, and I agree with, when you look at most relationships for men would be, if you were looking at a newspaper, we would be the headlines, right? We big, but women are the story. They're the print. They look at all the details. They look at all those things, right? And depending upon what you're looking for as a man, right, and what you're looking for in that mate, you're going to get somebody good like that, but you got to make sure you're choosing well as well, right? And so some of it is in their part and what they come to the table with. And as I told my son, look, if she's not coming to the table with the right stuff, then that's not the right one for you. At least not the right one for you right now. Right.
Simply,
And so, right. So there's a lot to the relationship game. And it's not an either or, it's a both and. We all bring stuff to the table, and it's how we respond to one another and how we wake up one another and how we hold up one another in order to get our best out of each other.
Right.
You know,
there are no perfect marriages, there are no perfect relationships. There's love. But more than the love, there's the connection and there's commitment to the relationship and to the power greater than yourself. I choose God. Whoever you choose is all right with me. I choose God.
And then can I throw this in real quick, and then I'm gonna shut up on this. But
no, don't.
I might not. But when you all were talking about, the man is the lead, and that is correct, right? But also as we lead, we have to make sure that we are leading in good stead. And so as we lead, one of the things that I always wanted from my wife, I wanted to make sure I had her approval. So even though I might make the final decision and I lead, I'm making sure, okay, are you good? Right. So if we lead without our queen in mind, right, we're just leading because this is where the way we think it should go and the way that we're going, we ain't doing it in the right way. But if we're leading and saying, I'm leading, this is where I'm trying to take us, this is the vision, are you good with that? Because we both got to hold up our share in this vision. And she says, I'm good with that. You can lead with confidence. And she's going to follow with confidence because she knows you're leading in good stead and you only want the best for her.
That's right. And listen, come on, ring the bell. Go ahead. Ring the bell because a lot of people get caught up in lead and they think the lead means control. The lead actually means partnership. The lead actually means respect. The lead means love.
Yeah.
And I think, Commissioner, you had it right when you said we have to have a vision. I'm not following a man just because he says. He's got to have a vision. He's got to have a plan. He's got to tell me how we're going to do it, where I fit in, where he fits in, and when we come to the middle of the road, how we partner.
That's right.
He's got to be able to tell me that. He's got to be able to show me that. He's got to show me that he has a plan. So, Commissioner, you said a mouthful. Winston, you said a mouthful. Paul, you started a fight with the sports, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm about to start another one.
You about to start another one? Well,
yeah, I'm about to start another one.
This is the barbershop right here. Go ahead.
Let me start.
We're in the barbershop.
Only because we live and we're viewing to 3 different areas and a bunch of different groups.
No, we're actually viewing to almost 8 different areas.
Oh, 8 different areas? Pardon me. I'm going to start off by this disclaimer that whatever I say about relationships does not pertain to my wife. These are only things that I've witnessed and I've seen throughout my 42 years of living on this planet. I enjoy living in my home, and I do not want to sleep on the grass.
That was a real good one, Paul. He was on point.
With that being said, when we talk about leadership, we also have to see that your partner is willing to be led. He or she has to be coachable. Even the leader has to be coachable. Because it has to be a meeting at the minds to move forward. If the meeting is dissolved, then you're going to have a hard time getting to where you need to get to. And nowadays, I see it lately, with the more independent women. When a woman is too independent, when a man is too independent, they don't take heed to what they're being communicated to, nor do they communicate back to the partner. And a big part of leadership is, you guys would know, is communication. From top down.
Ring that bell, Winston. Ring that bell.
Yes, sir. Top down and from bottom up. Communication is the key. And I think we lose a lot of communication, especially when it comes to looking for certain things. Like I start hearing about, and I read a book, I forget who the author was, speaking her love language.
Yes, love language. Five love languages.
Exactly. You know, everything is
Sam
towards.
already knew. He already knew.
Yeah, absolutely. See,
Right.
but here's my point. Everything is geared towards speaking her language.
Mm.
Yo,
But what about his language?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
man,
It has to be
here
a
we
meeting.
go.
That's where I'm saying the
Here
meeting is
we
dissolved. Like,
Stay
Yes,
tuned,
sir.
Paul. We're doing a whole podcast on speaking his language. Stay
absolutely,
tuned for that. Because that's
absolutely.
going to be women talking.
And I think that's
Right.
where we fall short.
Right.
We break our backs trying to speak their language, but no one ever tries to speak our language, and it's not that hard to learn.
I think that what has happened is this is generational.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Women
That's right.
are taught to be one way and men are taught to be another way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Men don't cry.
Nope.
Man up.
Right.
Don't show your feelings. A woman is express yourself.
That's right.
Talk about what you're going through. And so in learning how to speak his language, and we're doing that podcast, you know, what he's thinking, what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn how. There are no perfect relationships,
Right.
but in learning how to be in partnership, you have to learn to listen to hear and
Yes.
understand and not to respond. Listen to hear and understand because men have feelings. Men, like you said, Paul, you have a language too. We have to
Yes.
learn how to speak it. I learned how to speak sports language with my husband,
That's
which is
right.
why I got into sports. I knew that the best way to communicate, I could cook the best meal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I could keep the house, I could keep the kids, I could, do whatever I needed to do to be his significant other.
Right.
But until I learned to speak his language, which was sports, I couldn't really get in.
Right. Right.
Once I understood how to get in, look, I went and studied the game.
Mm-hmm.
Football, basketball, hell, I even did soccer. He didn't even watch soccer, but I wanted
Just in case.
So you want to be one up, right?
I wanted to be one up. So
No.
learning how to speak a man's language
Right.
is important for us, as much for us as it is for you learning how to speak his language. Women
Right.
will say, he doesn't understand me. You
Yeah.
don't understand him either. Because if you were meeting halfway and you were both trying to understand, the gap wouldn't be so large.
Right.
Let me ask you this, and
That's a bell ring right there.
yeah, that
Right. Put
definitely is
put
a bell ring.
Yes.
Let me ask you this as well. When you were learning how to speak his language, when you were studying the sports, right? And the first time that you showed him that you were at least trying, was he responsive to that?
Not only was he responsive, but he taught me more
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
because I was open to it. He taught me
Right.
more. I wanted to learn how to speak his language. He was one of 5 children and the only boy.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And he had gone away to Vietnam and suffered a lot with a lot of different things. But the point was, he had never been in a relationship where a woman worked to understand him.
Mm.
I My mother taught me how to cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That's true.
Mhm.
But as you're feeding the stomach, you got to feed the mind and the heart
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
A lot of women miss that.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of women miss that. My husband would tell me, I don't care what we disagree on. When we get upstairs, we are one.
Well, yeah. That's right.
Okay. So we
That's why he
weren't
was my guy.
going to sleep.
That's it. That was my man right there.
We weren't
That's
going
right.
to sleep, angry. We weren't doing any of that. And he taught me so much because I grew up in a home with 2 parents.
That's right.
And my mother and father would let us see them fight and let us see them resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
That played a big role in me wanting to understand my husband more.
Right.
Now, for the record, when women don't have that exposure, they have to be taught.
Yes.
If they don't have that exposure, they have to be taught.
Or
If
are
all
they willing to accept the teaching? Because it seems like whole bunch of them not willing to accept the teaching. They want to run. They just run and run.
But Winston, part of it, I'll ask you this: How
Uh-huh.
are we leading? Right. So just as Annette tried to figure out her husband's love language or his language,
Right.
we got to understand if we're gonna lead. When I lead a team at YUSA, right? And so for me, I got to know more than they know, or at least I got to know what button to push to get them to where I need to get them.
Got to be able
Right.
to teach me.
Right. And so
Teach me.
with Tesca, it's funny because when we got married, and I told this story on the net show, and when I come on your show, Winston, I'm telling the story there too.
Absolutely.
But before we moved to Trenton, we had built a house down in West Hampton, right down there, Willingboro.
Right.
And we built that house so that my nephew, who we had custody of, could go to a good school system. Because we had him up in East Orange, and it was crazy up there in East Orange for a second.
Oh, I know.
And so when we built the house in 1999. Doug Palmer offered me a job here, and he said, "But you got to move to the city." I was like, "But I already work in the city. Do I got to actually move here?" He's like, "You got to move here." So I went home to tell my wife, who we just built a house 4 years prior, that, "Hey, look, if we want this gig, we got to move to the city." And she was like, "Why do we have to move?" I said, "Look, I'm not even going to tell you that we got to move. I could do that job, or I could continue doing what I'm doing." But one of the things that you and I have always talked about, when we got married, we talked about this. How do we impact the lives of other people? So I'm not going to tell you that we need to move, but I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to leave it up to you. Can we impact more people here in West Hampton, or can we impact more people in the city of Trenton? She didn't bat an eye. She said, "Let's put the house up for sale next week, and let's go do what we do." But I knew her love language, because her love language is acts of service. Right. And so when you speak to their love language,
ring that bell.
you lead because they can be open to being led, because now you know their love language.
Right. So I want to go back off something that you said earlier about you said something about leading. You said leading as well, but the thing was, you'd have what I could see you saying. I'm like, yo, the person, if you leave a person in a certain place, they have to be able to hold everything down. The hold, like, can you hold? It's like if I go out here in the woods and go hunting for our food, will you be okay? Will you hold things down here? And I seen what you were saying. I'm like, yo, she can hold it down. And that's what you want to find. You want to find somebody that can hold things down. You don't want somebody that when you leave, your house is crazy. You feel me? And you come back into a place that's crazy. And that's a lot that's happening right now.
You know the biggest mistake that men make?
What's that?
They look at the physical.
Right.
They look at the physical and they think that's love. And
but some guys, I'm gonna have to go against that. Some guys are strong and they can see through that. Some guys are strong, like, because they've been through it so many times. We'll be beat 1,000 times, but I think a lot of us 1,001 times, we're not beat all the time. You get what I'm saying?
Not all
guys,
the time.
Yeah, guys are just like women, where they strategic too. Guys are like, some guys are like that too, where they're strategic. Women are strategic. But I think guys they get bang, bang, bang so many times until he's able to stand up. You fall a lot of times. You fall a whole bunch of times, but one time you're going to stand up. You know what I mean? You ain't going to be down forever. But
so the point is, he doesn't have to get banged up if he would start looking at her heart and her mind.
But you got to look at our side. Look at our side.
And
you
her
can
mind.
see that way.
You gotta see. We all speaking from people with experience. When you're young and you don't have no experience, you can't say that. You go off of your nature, and your nature is looking at the physical. You know,
and you're a lady. You're a lady.
No, that's either side though. That's either side.
You're right. You're right.
You're a beautiful woman, right? Like, all right, just like most women, they can see through other women, right? They can see. You know what I mean? We can see through guys. We'd be like, all right, your daughter brings somebody in the house. Somebody, you'd be like, what are you doing with him? You know what I mean? You'll ask her. She'd be like, well, it's just my friend. But you can see through him. A guy can see through a guy, and a woman can see through a girl. It's just how divine nature was built. Like, it's just like that's you know what I mean? That's our blessing apart. You know what I mean? So we're gonna look at something that's glorious, like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? See a young Annette up the block. Woo! I know, you know what I mean? They going
Winston was going to holler, Sister
yeah,
Annette.
they go holla, 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 holla. They go
Let
do
me
all
tell
that.
you. Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
When a man loves a woman, she can do no wrong.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether he
And
loves
vice
her
versa.
looks, her
Yes.
heart, or her mind.
Yes, yes.
But
yes.
but I would tell you that a
Mhm.
lot of things would change if people would start to look at character.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Right.
See, some women make a choice about where they're going to be in this life.
Right.
You understand? They make a choice. And those are the type of women. If you're chasing a woman because she looks good, her house is dirty, she got
Right.
20 different kids by 20 different men,
Hello.
be prepared for what comes with that.
Right. Absolutely.
Fooling yourself and just
Absolutely.
like with a man,
Right.
women, if he has children all over the place, he's
Mm-hmm.
irresponsible. He mistreats his mother. He
Yes.
disrespects his mother and his sisters. You get what your hand called for.
Absolutely.
Because you're not moving in wisdom. Because wisdom
Yes.
allows you, right? Because people they misconstrue knowledge and wisdom.
Yes.
Knowledge
Oh,
is what you know.
that's
Yes.
right.
Wisdom is being able to learn without having to go through it. You can
That's
see
right.
it. Somebody's
That's
told
right.
you, right? You
Yes.
can see those things.
Yes.
And that
That's right.
character that Sister Net's talking about,
Yes.
character, the basic definition of character is the you who you are when nobody else is watching. Right?
That's
That's
right.
your
Yes.
character.
Character.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
go deeper now.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go deeper. All right. And I'm not female bashing or anything like that, but do you think
No, come on.
a lot of the changes and decisions from the female side is determined behind like the help that they receive from the government? Because in comparison,
You mean parents who are on welfare?
absolute stuff like that. Yep.
Okay, so
Catholic charities,
let's
welfares,
bring the
things like
noise.
that.
I have to be careful here now
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
because I
Okay.
have a gag order. But
Right.
let me just say this. No, welfare was never meant to be a way of life.
That's right.
Never.
That's right.
It was always meant to be a stepping stone because people
Yep.
lose jobs,
That's right.
partners die, things
Right.
happen, and so the whole social service gig was meant to be a stepping stone. But what has happened is generation after generation after
Yes.
generation has relied on the system. And we've relied on the system so much, men and women alike, that we depend on the government to provide recreation for our kids.
Absolutely. That's
Okay,
crazy.
so it's not just about child support, it's not just about social services. We misunderstand and want the government to be responsible for our children's recreation.
Mhm.
Now, should there be programs available? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's contingent on the tax base and the money available to that
Mhm.
particular municipality. People miss that too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's round it up by saying this to answer your question, Paul.
And I want to ask you something afterwards.
Oh, absolutely.
About
Not
this
to
here.
deep in the woods, but
Mhm.
social services simply all social services, housing, Section 8, welfare, food stamps was meant to be a stepping stone.
That's right.
And some of us have made it our foundation.
That's right.
That's the
And I'm not choosing that one. Right.
That's right. That's right.
I'm just saying, and that's the other piece of it, right? How are we choosing? Right. I dated a lot of sisters that, were utilizing the system.
Right.
But that's just not what I was going to choose, right? When it came down to it, I was like, okay, I'm looking for something different, right? When I was looking for my wife, I said, there are three things. Everything else could be kind of crazy, but there are three
Sam,
things that I got to be able
again.
to.
Say that
Right.
again. When I was looking for my wife.
Right.
When I was searching for my wife,
That's
right? There were things that I knew I needed to have. So the first thing is she's got to be attractive to me. Now, what everybody else thinks, it don't matter.
Yeah.
She's got to be attractive to me,
beautiful.
right?
She's beautiful.
That's
Simple.
right.
And Teska is fine, and she's attracted to other people too. So I got
That's
to watch
right.
them brothers too, you know.
Yeah.
But but the other piece was I also wanted to make sure that we could hold a good conversation. She had to be intellectual and
Yes.
have a vision that she was going someplace in life, right?
Yeah.
This is what we want to do together. So when we talked about things, I wasn't talking about being successful, and her idea of success was just making it to the next paycheck. That wasn't for me. Right. And then the other thing was we needed to be spiritually compatible. Those are the three things. I said, if I can get all three of those, that's going to be the one for me. If I can only get 2 out of 3, that's not the one. And so
That's
I set those standards for me.
Yes.
So it's a sister that might be using the system to use the system and game it. There's a difference between using it to move further
Yes.
and gaming the system.
That's
And
right.
so a sister that's gaming it, they weren't on my same level. I wasn't looking for them. But a sister that might use it to say, okay, now I'm getting it here. This is what I'm going to do next, and this is what I'm going to do next. Well, that could be a sister that I was looking for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But that's exactly how he's thinking and how he thought. We think that's how we think. That's how we think. If they got this and that, that's the one. I'm getting it. You feel me? That's
like you
exactly
want it.
how we think. That's how we all want it. If it's not in that, if it's not in those orders,
gotta bring it.
Order. But if it don't have any 3 of them inside of her, we won't want it. We don't want it. We don't want it.
Yeah.
But another thing I was asking, he's right. I love to bail him for him, even though this ain't my show. But I gotta when I hear something cool, I gotta
Winston,
So,
let Paul follow up with his question first.
No, that was
it's off his question.
Go ahead. No, that was cool.
Answer. And I wanted to just ask you, right? I wanted to ask Annette this. I wanted to ask and any of you can answer, right? Like in the NBA, these guys have etiquette. They go to classes, NBA, NFL, to spend their money or whatever, or to get them straight, right? So when some females, because it's not a wrong thing for them to be on any assistance, they might really need it at the time. But do you think that they should take certain courses? Whoever, anybody, male, female, should they take certain courses to be able to wean off that? Because we were raised, all of us in here probably was raised, because my parents were older. Me and his parents were older. I'm pretty sure you guys' parents were older. So we come from a certain time. You know what I'm saying? So the time frame is much different. That's why I'm like, yo, maybe they might need a course to go into. And I know when somebody's hungry, like, oh, I ain't going no course, no 6 months and nothing like that. But even if it's small courses that they can wean off, and not everybody is strong enough to wean off of those sources of help. They're not strong enough. So do you think it's a good thing if they would get like some courses or some type of counseling before they go into that the whole Section 8 and all that stuff? Do you think they should try to get courses?
Let me assure you and the audience this, because after this, it doesn't matter how many people are looking at it now. Thousands of people are going to see it.
Look, we ain't worried about
Thousands
that.
of people are going to see it. And here's what I want you to know. In social services in New Jersey, they offer stepping stones out of the system.
That's right.
Oh, they do. They do, man.
They absolutely do.
Oh, I never heard of it.
They provide child care for the man or woman, because men are on social services too, to ensure that their needs are met to meet the goals of self-sufficiency.
Wow.
That stuff is already in place.
Okay.
It's already in place. And there are many who fail to take advantage of it. They were offering job training.
Right.
Paying for you to go to school and get certificates, all kinds of things so that you could go to work, paying for childcare. And then, a few years back, they were buying you a car so you had transportation and paying the insurance for the first year.
Oh, man.
There weren't many people who took advantage of that.
Yeah.
See, I want to get.
okay.
See, I want to get out of the, because right now we're kind of talking about where people are, where they're positioned.
Yeah.
And where they're positioned does not mean that that's where they're going to end up.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the things that I was talking about, it's a mindset, right? We talk about, there are people that have what we call wealth mentality. There's people that have poverty mentality, right? You could put them in any situation and they're going to see the wealth in that situation, any place they go, or they're going to see glass half empty, the poverty in that situation, any place they go. You know, my mother, so my mother was not older. My mother actually was 18 when she had me. And if you've watched any of Annette's other shows, you know that I'm actually the product of a rape.
Right.
And from the
Oh
time
man.
that I was born until
Yeah.
the time I was 8 years old, we lived in 22 different places,
Right.
right? We were getting evicted out of almost every place that we lived in.
Right.
But that was our situation and our position in life. That wasn't our mentality.
At
And
the
so when we
time.
thought about
Right.
at the
At the
time, right?
time.
And so
That's
when we
right.
thought about, okay, where do we want? She thought about where she wanted to be. That was instilled in me that I've always got to be thinking forward. Where do I want to be? My position in
Absolutely.
life or where I am right now, my situation does not define my destiny. And so we
Absolutely.
got to make sure that, as we're talking about this, there are people that are in these systems. This is really about how we impact people's thought process, mentality in the structures that they're
Yes.
in. And
Yes.
the
But
institutional
hold on, Sam.
racism, all that stuff.
Hold
We
on.
can go to that.
I gotta come in because even though you said you told, and I'm down with you. You my guy, right?
Yep.
But but the timing is different. Even if it was bad back then, what was that,
Yeah.
like the 60s? And I'm not trying to
I
tell
was born in
everybody your
'68.
age.
Yeah.
All right, so that you were rocking around the 70s. You and your mom was moving through the 70s. You had maybe little to no help, but your culture in that time is different than it is now. It's way different. Like the way things go now is different. And I know everybody would be like, yeah, it's the same way. It's not. It's not. You could come out from where you were and become lawyers, doctors, judges, big time sports players because of the drive that it was at the time for especially black people. We didn't have anybody else that we could run to at the time. Like Miss Annette. Miss Annette came into the office and she immediately started to help in the early 80s. You get what I'm saying? We didn't have
Mm.
anything like, so our whole thing was like already tight knit. Like it was tight knit in the 70s, tight knit in part of the 80s until it started to get loose in the 90s and people didn't care much. And you know what I mean? We got what we have out here in the street now. But I didn't want to turn it kind of political or against anybody. It's just the way I want, how black people were tight knit. You know what I mean? We were more
Mm.
tight knit families, even if it was just me and my mom. Like we were tight knit. My mother used to walk me to baseball games. Usually that's a
Yeah.
father's job. He's working steel mill somewhere, but my mother walking me and her. I remember we got caught in the rain. I remember Doug Palmer brought us home one time. A few times she brought me to all types of practices, football practice, and we walked because she didn't drive. But it was
Mm.
the next door neighbor had a family of 6 or 7 as well. So we know that it was tight knit. It was more tight knit at the time, and
I
that's how
feel
we
you.
have you that's more successful at this time. You wasn't going to stop. You wasn't going to stop. You know what I mean?
and,
You don't
and,
have a whole bunch of people that quit like that
and your
in the black
community.
community.
Your
Yeah, your
community wasn't
community,
gonna let you go that, like they're not gonna let you fall. It's
no matter
not like,
what community
That's
it
yeah,
real.
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like nowadays where if they see you about to fall, they put the video out and watch you
yeah,
fall.
You
If they're
right.
gonna stop
Yeah.
you, they're gonna go
You
up
yeah,
and
right.
help you, like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? And not
But
taking away
even in
from your
that,
plight. Not taking away anything from your plight.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. I ain't trying to
not
make it
taking
even
No,
like,
nothing
I
that,
feel
it
away.
you.
is
I feel
something.
you.
It is
I feel
something.
you.
It is something. It is something.
even
But
even
I
in
highly
that,
respect you. I'm sorry. What happened?
even
Ring the
in
bell?
that,
Huh?
even in that,
That's right.
even in
That's
that, I
right.
think what's most important to understand is there's some really good people out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a
Absolutely.
lot of people who are struggling and trying to make it.
That's right.
The welfare
Not over
system
for 'em.
is meant to be a stepping stone,
That's right.
not the whole foundation, just a stepping stone. So generational curses have continued to present in every community. It's not just our community, it's
Yeah.
every
Hmm.
community. You see it
Everywhere.
here because you're here. But what I would encourage everybody to do who's listening to this podcast is to reach outside your comfort zone and to get to know different people, places, and things.
That's
And
right.
in that, I promise you, you're going to learn some things,
Yeah.
you're going to be educated about some things, and you're going to grow. For
That's
example, sidebar, did you know that every one of you should go to a bank, open a trust, And from that trust, get life insurance policies for everybody in your family. And that trust, all of the money from any life insurance should go to that trust. That's how you build generational wealth very
That's
easily.
right. That's
A
right.
lot of people don't know that. There are some things you simply have to teach because the foundation
Mm-hmm.
has been there. And that's why mentoring is so important. I brought you guys on tonight because I wanted you to share your experience, strength, and hope. And you've talked about sports. We could talk about sports forever. We talked about relationships. We talked about marriage. We talked about partnerships. So I want one last question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real problem out here?
How do we get to the money?
Very
That's
easily. Solid. You see that sign behind me?
Yep.
I'm in the
mm-hmm.
Black Girls Locker Room. That's real. Solidarity wins. And
Right.
until people understand that, you don't have to agree on everything. You have to
That's
have a
right.
common goal.
That's right.
So if the four of us had a common goal that we're gonna put in, as much money as we can until we reach 25,000, we're gonna buy an old raggedy piece of property, we're gonna
Right.
fix it up, and we're gonna resell it.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Until we get to the fact that everybody in our neighborhood owns our neighborhood except us.
That's right.
Yep.
Do you see any African American establishments anymore?
That's right.
You don't. Homeownership has gone, by the wayside. We have to own property. We have to buy homes and get out of that. I don't want nobody in my business
That
and
type
join
stuff.
in with your family and live together.
Mm-hmm.
You can do
Absolutely.
that.
That's one thing. And also, we got to
Build business.
stop being scared. We have to stop being scared of each other, because we could probably get more land and houses. There's so many black cities like East Orange. It's bad, but you just can't be scared. The other man isn't scared. You know what I mean? We're
Do you,
cautious,
do
of
you,
course. We know better, but they're not scared.
do
You know
you
what I mean?
think these astronomical rents are accidents and mortgages? And people are buying houses
Mm-hmm.
$100,000 above asking price.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
Right.
that's
That
because
means that the
it's a
value of the
seller's market right
property
now.
Right.
Yep.
is not meeting the mortgage. Do you think that's an accident?
Right. It's a seller's market right now. You know,
Right.
I ran into a guy in the airport last month, and he was saying that he thought he was going to beat the market, and he sold his crib, and right now he's basically homeless. He got a bunch of money for it. He got the bag,
But he ain't
but
got nowhere to go.
he
There's
can't
nowhere to
find a
go.
place to live. And
Mm.
so many people that I've talked to, that's the issue. So go back to your Winston. You said, how do we get the bag, right?
Yeah.
And part of getting the bag is how do we figure out how to trust one another,
Yes, that's
right?
it too. Going.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a level of trust, and when you talk about that fear, is really trust
Right.
in supporting one another, right?
Right.
So if we can get to that, you know, we could create a bag,
Right.
right? We,
Yeah. Every
the
time
black
we do
the
it every
black
time.
dollar
Yes.
the black
Yes.
dollar last year, just in the United States, $3 trillion. That's
Trillion,
more than some nations.
Yes.
More
trillions.
Yes.
than $3 trillion, the black dollar, but most of it was not spent in our community.
Yep.
And
Right.
so that because we don't trust one another. And
Yes.
right. And
Yes.
so we got to figure out how to really rebuild trust. Because what you were talking about, in that a couple minutes ago, you were really kind of talking about how we trust one another and love one another. That's what you were really
Right.
saying,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
so how we
That's right.
when we figure that out,
Yes.
we can be incredibly powerful. Our
Yes.
dollar can go
Yep.
far.
The
Yes.
other thing, Sam,
Yes.
Commissioner, I want to be clear about is you don't need a lot of money to start a business. That's
That's
another
right.
podcast we're going to have. For those of
Absolutely.
you who are re-entering society, who don't
Mhm.
have the money, there are very basic things that you can do to start a small business with little to no money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know,
Right.
listen, the reality of it is the bag is out here. How we get it is important. Everybody owns our neighborhood but us. There
Yep.
are no black corner stores anymore.
Right.
There are no
Right.
black liquor stores. There's no black clothing stores. There's no black anything anymore.
Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
all the hair we buy comes from somebody else. Start
Yep.
supporting black businesses. Start
Right.
there. And this is not anti anything else,
Right.
except that there are certain stores I go in and black people don't work there.
That's
Mhm.
right.
They couldn't
Right.
work there. I'm not going to mention any cultures,
And I'm not
but
Right.
take a
supporting
look.
them. That's
Right.
right. Because if you
Right.
can't at least pay some black folks a wage, they
Yeah.
might not own the store. At least they could be getting some money because they're an employee. I'm not shopping there.
They're not.
Right.
They're not. They're
Right.
not employing us. So
Right.
you better wake up. You better take a look, and you better understand that getting to the bag means just solidarity. Find somebody like you who wants to do what you're doing. Y'all link up and have a partnership. If it don't work out, split the proceeds. Build your own. They build their own. But you
Right.
got to start building. You got to get out of the fashion.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
buying designer bags and clothes and all this other stuff that has no return.
Right.
To go nowhere,
It
Yes.
to
has no
ultimately go
return.
nowhere.
Well, for
It
some
has
folks,
no
it's a business
return.
for them. It's a business for them. So I
You're
wouldn't want to
making Louis Vuitton rich.
wealthy. Yeah.
He
They
wouldn't. He
it's a sort of
wouldn't.
a business too. So we don't want to throw them in the garbage. We don't want to throw them away.
I'm throwing
It's
anybody in the garbage who's
Well,
not supporting my community.
if they selling Louis, at one of the Bible acts, yeah, I'll
yeah,
buy it there. But if
yeah,
they
absolutely.
selling Louis out the shop, yeah, I mean
Nah, yeah,
we
it's
can
too
get it,
high.
we can get it every now and then. We can get it every now and
Yeah,
then.
we could touch
But
them. We could
don't
touch
make
them.
a living on that. Look, I
Yeah,
got a good friend I've only bought one brand new car in my whole life, and I only
right.
did it because I said, let me see how it feels. And
Yeah.
buying the car brand new wasn't any different than buying it 2 years old.
Oh
My
yeah.
friends, all my friends that have a lot of money, millionaires or what have you, they're like, how'd you get there? They say, well, first of all, I never buy a new car. Like, you see that Rolls Royce I got outside? I
Right.
bought that 2 years old because
Wow.
when I buy that, as soon as I drive it off the lot, it takes a hit. So
Appreciate
I'd
that.
rather somebody else take the hit, and
Appreciates.
I'll buy it,
Right.
and when it's at its real value.
Right.
So I mean, there's certain things that we have to learn. That, yeah, it's wonderful. You can say, oh, I bought that new, but if you bought a brand new Mercedes and you sleeping in it, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine. Everybody
Yeah.
has a right to live the way they want.
Absolutely.
I could never imagine living in public housing and driving a luxury car. I'd rather put that money into a house for my kids.
Right. Some
So
people
that's
think
how I
otherwise.
feel. That's how I feel.
Right.
It's
Somebody in public housing might feel different. I
yeah,
respect
Right.
that.
it's
Right.
I respect
crazy.
the
It's
game.
it's crazy in that because I know people that pay more than I pay for my mortgage for their
But
place
they
in
come.
public housing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
I
it's
think I
adjustable.
have an
That's
all
right.
right property.
Yeah.
Like I have a decent property.
Yep.
Well,
They
it's
pay more than
adjustable.
me.
Yeah, it's adjustable based on how much they make.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So they playing in public housing. Some people just like to live there. That's fine to
yeah,
do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I ain't mad
But
at them.
you're not getting any equity out of it, and you can't
Nope.
write
Right.
it off at the end of the year. I
That's
write
Nope.
right.
off all my interest at the end of the year.
Yep.
I'm looking for write-offs right now. That's what I'm trying to do. Every place
That's
I go,
where
I'm
I'm
trying to
at.
figure out the write-off.
That's where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Well, let's round up, gentlemen. We're at an hour.
Can I say one more thing? What we need to
Yes.
do as black men, and I'm really saying it just to put it in the universe. I think that we should really get something where we can come together and become a sphere and do a business just like
Yes.
other races do. I'm not coming at any other race, but I see you do certain things with other races. And I'm speaking to them now, but I'm speaking to us. I just want to team up and create a sphere that like an unstoppable sphere. You feel me? So we need to
Mhm.
get together. Let me put it out in the world, at least through this podcast, and maybe we can make it happen. That's all I wanted to say.
That's
So,
what's up.
so, so I'd like each of you, as men, to
Hmm.
tell a woman one thing that you would want her to know. As married men, what works for you? And Winston, as a single available bachelor,
Yes.
what works for you? Just one thing. I'm going to start with Sam.
When you listen and validate me,
Mhm.
that's the hottest thing in the world. Hottest
Okay.
thing in the world.
Yeah.
All right. Winston?
Me, I'm with that as well. I just need her to listen. I need her to be more soft. That's all I need. Just to be more soft, listen, and that's all I need. And
Okay.
respond back, but that's all I need.
All right. All
All
right.
right.
Okay, Paul.
All right, this is a disclaimer once again. Nah. All right.
Hey,
Just
Rajanta. He's staying in line.
Somewhere around.
just understand that in a relationship, anybody that's involved in a relationship has value, whether it's great value, good value, negative value. You have to understand where your position is, where do you want to go, and how do you move forward with judging the value in your relationship. I'm just leave it at that.
All
Thank you,
right.
gentlemen. And as the woman on the call, I'd like to say that if you're going to lead, you have to have a vision and a plan and tell us how to get there. My name is Annette. I'd like to thank you for being here with us this evening at Word on the Curve. I'm going to invite these gentlemen back again. Are you guys willing to come back?
With my
Sure. Why
brothers?
Absolutely.
not?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to add three more people to the podcast. There'll be six men and one woman. And we're going to
Okay.
be talking about what's on his mind. What is he talking about and what is he thinking about? There's some great men out here. Don't discount that. Look at the heart and the mind before you look at anything else, okay? Keep your heads out the bed and do what you need to do to develop a relationship. Sam said it best. Paul followed up with it. You have to know what it is you want. I'd like to bid you all a good night and thank you for joining us here at Word on the Curve. And listen, you can see us on Facebook at Black Girls Locker Room. You can see us on Facebook at What Trenton Really Makes. You can see us on Facebook at Word on the Curve. You can see us at New Pod City at Word on the Curve. You can see us on Instagram, Facebook, in Philadelphia, in Norfolk, and in Virginia. You can see us wherever podcasts are. See us on YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and share button. This is one time we want you to put all our business in the street. Yeah, you have our permission.
There you go. There you
And
go.
good night.
Right.
Gentlemen, Sam,
Great.
Commissioner Sam Frisby, Winston Dramatic Mills, and Paul Wonderful Mills. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.
You as
Love you,
well.
sis.
Love you too. Thank you.
Even love them Cowboy fans, doggone it.
We
Yeah,
love
you
you
know
too,
what?
Commissioner.
Good night and thank you. All the
Peace.
best to your wives.